A very good evening. This is the PNGTV live news bulletin at 7 o'clock. 20% of the country's aid posts have been shut down due to negligence over the years. This is according to the Minister for Health, Puka Temu. Minister Temu says having these vital health services and facilities reopened will require a committed effort from provincial health authorities. Gregory Avira with this report.
Health continues to be a priority for the current government. Since 2014, the government has rolled out its free basic health care policy to enable more accessible health care services for people. While it provides this service, another key aspect is ensuring proper infrastructure is in place to deliver the service. SOA MP Henry Amuli, during question time in Parliament today, pointed out the lack of government attention over the years, which saw most aid posts in his electorate shut down.
Aid posts Mr. Pandanit provincial health authorities or Mr. Pandanit district authority blomi or Nogat or Mr. Pandanit health. Because those aid posts has been closed. So my people behind the mountains are suffering, they are dying.
Minister for Health Puka Temu, while responding, admitted this is an issue faced in other provinces as well. He adds negligence over the years has seen up to 20% of aid posts being shut down.
Today, 20% of our aid posts are closed in the country, and that's not just happened overnight. Those are the statistics that represent some of the neglects that governments have allowed to happen. But coming back to the question of who is responsible for aid posts, I think the answer is all of us.
Changes to the organic law on provincial and local level governments in 1995 saw the responsibility of maintaining aid posts being given to local level governments. But according to the minister, poor resourcing at the level saw little being done. Minister Temu says further reform saw health facilities from provincial hospitals to what is now known as community health posts becoming the direct responsibility of provincial health authorities.
The provincial health authorities now take full responsibility from hospitals to district hospitals to health centers to aid posts. It will now be the responsibility of provincial health authorities.
The minister says while the provincial authorities are responsible, the department will also come in to assist where it can. Gregory Avira, PNGTV Live.
Housing and Urbanization Minister John Kaupa says the Duran Farm housing project will not continue until a proper survey is completed and services such as water and power is connected to the area. Gregory Avira reports.
Duran Farm is located on portion 528 near 8 Mile, which is just outside of Port Moresby. The National Housing Project is expected to deliver 2,500 houses yearly per contractor. There has been much criticism raised in regard to the project in recent years, which has seen only 48 houses built so far. The minister says recent assessments carried out on the houses showed lack of quality with safety concerns.
But the way they walk in house, you look at you play two in one bell because the moment you walk up the steps, the house is moving. So we are talking about quality. Also, let me put it stop like got good relations. So now, me Salem all line, so where I go, engineers go, walking new plus survey, catastrophe survey so that engineers by looking, we can come up with engineering plan, water and all not something that will help him, complement him, all get houses by come up.
Kaupa says the project has been altered with instructions issued for a proper survey to be carried out. He adds proper and transparent procedures must also be put in place to ensure legitimate contractors are given the opportunity to participate in the project.
That's all due process of awarding contract. Going through the board, coming down, must be behind him, so that you must give him all get a chance outside. NEC approve law, participate, law building Duran Farm.
The minister says he is confident this will all be in place by October, which he hopes to see the project recommence. Meantime, an investigation into the alleged transfer of up to 300 land titles in the project area is currently underway. Kaupa hopes this can be fast-tracked so that the titles can be given back to the National Housing Corporation to be properly issued. Gregory Avira, PNGTV Live.
APEC economies continue to strengthen, but their growth and distribution of the benefits centers on the faith of market openness and integration in the Asia Pacific. This was highlighted in the latest APEC Regional Trends Analysis report, which helps set the tone for the APEC ministers responsible for trade meeting in Port Moresby from the 25th to the 26th of May. Quentin and Aime with this report.
The APEC Regional Trends Analysis report will set the mark to work out policy differences and areas of consensus on securing higher growth. The report reveals growth in the APEC region, which accounts for half of global trade and 60% of world GDP, jumped from 3.4% to 4.1% in 2017. Director of the APEC Policy Support Unit, Dr. Dennis Hugh, who produced the report, explains growth is focused to remain at this level in 2018 before consolidating to 4.0% in 2019. Dr. Hugh highlights there are a number of downside risks leading to the slight slow growth in 2019, including inflation.
We're worried about whether there's no missteps in policy direction, particularly in monetary policies, because that could have an impact on the economy. We also need to be taking into account, we talked about geopolitical tensions, and also that also includes things that are external to the region. You know, the current negotiations are going on Brexit in the UK.
Dr. Hugh reveals from the report over the medium to longer term, there are still uncertainties in monetary, fiscal and trade policies that could have an impact on foreign investment in the region and reduce growth. Other external factors include ongoing geopolitical tensions, terrorist attacks, and adverse weather conditions like earthquakes and floods, and PNG is no exception.
In fact, the APEC region I think quite a large proportion of natural disasters, earthquakes and floods, happen in the APEC region. So it is something that many of the policymakers in the region do take into account, because again, it has an impact on economic activities, on investments and on consumptions if some of these natural disasters happen.
The report highlights inclusion over the last few years has been an increased focus for many APEC economies.
Part of the anti-globalization sentiments have come out is because there's growing concerns of rising income inequality and segments of society that's been left out or left behind. So I think that's some of the work that APEC has increasingly been trying to do to address some of these issues on inclusion.
This includes deepening technical consultations to raise capacity for new trade agreements and policy approaches that promote job creation and better living standards in all parts of the region. Quintina Naime, PNGTV Live.
You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. More after these messages. Welcome back. You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. A private citizen in Papua New Guinea has donated 4,000 square meters valued in millions of prime land in the Port Moresby suburb of Erima to the Catholic Order of Daughters of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. Businessman James Pang, owner of Rapoport Plantation Resort and the recently opened Sanctuary Hotel Resort at Waigani's extraordinary act of generosity, is a full fulfillment of a promise he made decades ago to his teacher when he was a little boy. This is one of the greatest examples of a promise kept and fulfilled. Florida Gulaseni reports.
Pang was educated in East New Britain at one of the schools set up by the Daughters of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart years ago, and promised his teacher, Sister Josette, that he would one day do something to help the order. Since then, Pang has gone on to become a successful businessman in the gaming and hospitality industry, which includes owning of Rapoport Plantation Resort in Kokopo and the newly established Sanctuary Hotel and Spa in Port Moresby. Pang says the large slice of land will be used as a site for a refugee center to provide much-needed sanctuary and support for women, children, and the vulnerable people in the nation's capital.
Sisters first told me that at the convent they had to turn away people, abused mums and kids coming to the gate, and all the sisters can do is give them some food and send them home because there's nowhere to house them for the night or for a few days. That's when I thought, well, maybe we can do something.
Sister Relida Gumur, leader of the Daughters of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, says the development of our country is taking place in the blink of an eye, and the rate of homeless people on the streets does too.
We are convinced that by having a specific place like this for this ministry, it will have a positive impact on the lives of the disadvantaged women and children. It will help to have a stable and happy family lives, create peaceful communities and society where respect, human dignity and equality is upheld.
Son of James Peng, Jamie Peng, working alongside his dad to see the success of this project, is appealing to fellow businessmen around the country to come on board and assist with the construction of the center that can house more than 50 people.
You know, more business parties come to contribute to such a great cause. I'd like to thank my father, James Pang, for putting this forward. I still hard to fathom how big this project will be. The sisters thought it would just be a little small house. I think they were expecting 2 rooms and to able to accommodate 5 people. We have expressed to them that we'll be able to cater for more than 50.
Gregory Avira, PNGTV Live.
NCD's Metropolitan Superintendent Pero Endrano has today confirmed that the main suspect and soldier who was involved in the assault of a doctor over the weekend had come to the Boroko police station yesterday afternoon. Mr. Endrano says suspect Desmond Dusava is currently on bail after his charge of assault from Saturday, so was released after he met with officers from the police force who are investigating the incident, which had resulted in a doctor being severely injured. Quintin and I'm with this report.
Mr. Drano says suspect Dusava is at this stage believed to be the only soldier that was involved in the assault against the doctor on Saturday night. The rest are believed to be civilians and are yet to be identified and brought in for possible formal charges. The PNG Defence Force is said to be of great help in assisting with investigations at this stage, which is supposed to take 10 days. The METSUP also stated that there may be other charges laid against the main suspect in regards to past incident, but this will need to be formally done by his investigators. Meanwhile, Chief of Staff of the PNG Defence Force, Captain Philip Polewara, confirmed that the main suspect will be facing its senior disciplinary officer tomorrow in its military court with regards to his military conduct as an officer. He also confirmed that civilians were also involved in this attack, with only one soldier said to be involved in this incident. Captain Polewara is very much concerned in this matter, which he is seriously looking to deal with for the image of the force itself. He adds that if released from police investigations, the suspect should be held in military custody at Tarama before his case tomorrow. PNGTV News will keep viewers posted on this story. Quintina Naime, PNGTV Live.
A 54-year-old refugee from Myanmar died instantly after jumping out of a moving vehicle at midday yesterday. The deceased was run over by a shuttle bus he was traveling on from the refugee campsite at West Lorengau, Ward 1, to Lorengau town after he forced himself and jumped out of the door. Police reports that the guard from Baladin Security, who was providing escort for them, attempted to stop him from jumping off the bus, however, did not succeed. His body was taken to Manus Provincial Hospital and placed in the morgue for autopsy. Manus Police boss David Yapu tells PNGTV Live the motive of the death is not known, but they're treating it as a suicide case. PPC Yapu confirms so far there are 3 suicide cases involving refugees that have been reported to Manus Province Police, which includes this incident which they're investigating. Meantime, in a statement today, Minister for Immigration and Border Security Petrus Thomas confirms the tragic death of the refugee. The Immigration and Citizenship Authority is in the process of contacting the refugee's family. As such, no further confirmation or information is available until that contact is made. The Immigration and Citizenship Authority is working with police and other relevant stakeholders to assist with the investigation into the refugee's death. They're making arrangements with the support of the Australian Department of Home Affairs, inconsistent with the family's wishes once known. Senior officials from the 21st Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, commenced their second meeting today to work towards a strong set of deliverables leading up to the ministers responsible for trade meeting. Trade ministers will draw upon policy consultations by the trade and sectoral officials over the past two weeks, which now concludes with a meeting for APEC senior officials on the 23rd to the 24th of May. Quintin Anaime with this report.
The lead-up meetings to the APEC Second Senior Officials Meeting, or SOM2, has been a lighter share of meetings in terms of number of meetings. In his opening statement, Papua New Guinea's ambassador to APEC and 2018 chair of APEC senior officials, Ivan Pomaliu, took note of the good amount of work that has been done leading up to the today's meeting. Ambassador Pomaliu thanks the economies for the continuous cooperation. The senior officials will meet until the eve of the ministers responsible for trade meeting, hence the need for them to cooperate to work towards a strong set of deliverables for the ministers to endorse.
In the form of a consensus MRT statement that validates the good work that we continue to pursue and reflects broad aspirations of APEC collectively and our members. Secondly, the convening of the first AVG meeting and getting our eminent persons in the room to commence their work as mandated by leaders. This in addition to the more specific work progressed by the committees and sub-fora that have met on the margins of SOM2.
The trade ministers will also take into account the recommendations from the APEC Business Advisory Council, or ABAC. This was highlighted by the PNG chair of ABAC, David Toa, during the opening of the senior officials meeting. Mr. Toa gave a report on the second ABAC meeting held in Tokyo, Japan, from the 16th to the 19th of April this year.
The key message that emerged from our discussions was that we should stay the course in promoting open markets, the dynamic flows of goods, services, investment and people, and in advancing inclusive growth.
The ministers responsible for trade meeting will get underway from the 25th to the 26th of May. It will focus on ways to support and improve the multilateral trading system, deepen regional economic integration and connectivity, and foster sustainable, inclusive growth through digital development. Trade ministers will consider ideas presented by scholars from the APEC Study Center Consortium, as well as policies by APEC technical working groups. Areas of emphasis will include assisting women-led entrepreneurship and trade, fisheries and food supply chains, and free trade agreements. Quintin Anaime, PNGTV Live.
You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. More after these messages. Welcome back. You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. A former Prime Minister of New Ireland is being approached to head the Independent Referendum Committee for the Bougainville referendum. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill told Parliament today the committee will take charge of responsibilities which includes determining the question of questions that will be asked during the referendum. Gregory Avera with this report.
With the Bougainville referendum target date set for June 15th next year, the government says it remains committed in achieving the referendum. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, while responding to questions raised by Deputy Opposition Leader and Member for South Bougainville Timothy Massieu, in regard to the preparedness of the government in staging the referendum, says progress is happening. Following joint meetings between the national government and autonomous Bougainville government, the independent committee that will take charge of preparations is soon to be in place. The committee, according to the Prime Minister, will most likely be headed by a former Prime Minister, with 4 other members to be appointed by the 2 governments.
We have now, both Bougainville ABG government and ourselves, we've agreed on the chairman of the committee, referendum committee, that is going to put issues like the question that we have to put to the people of Bougainville. We need to still agree on what sort of question that we have to put to the people. And Mr.
O'Neill says this committee will be the one to determine the question or questions. He adds to date no question or questions have been determined yet and has called for individuals to refrain from misleading people on Bougainville.
Independent committee on referendum has been set up, and as I said, the former Prime Minister of Ireland has been approached, is considering accepting that particular role, and when he does, the national government will appoint 2 senior Papua New Guineans, and ABG will appoint 2 senior Bougainvilleans who will form that committee, and then they will frame the questions and they will put it to JSB and all the other leaders of Bougainville and the national government, and we will agree to a way forward.
O'Neill says with the referendum a year away, the government remains committed to delivering the referendum and ultimately achieving what has been set out in the Bougainville Peace Agreement. Gregory Avira, PNGTV Live.
Work on setting up the country's second liquefied natural gas project is progressing well, with the developer confident of having a gas agreement by the end of the year. Total SA PNG Managing Director Philip Blanchard says negotiations with the state will get underway soon, and he is confident the project will be delivered by the set target of 2022.
The idea for us is to progress, to finalize all the engineering studies and be able to enter into FEED before year end. And we have, and you have seen or you have heard that the state has announced a state negotiating team, so we will also start our discussion on the gas agreement. And the idea is that by year end, we have a gas agreement agreed between the state of Papua New Guinea and the developers, and we are entering into FEED. So clearly, the project is getting more. How can I say that?
More traction.
More traction, and is becoming more a reality, and we're progressing. And we need to have Total and Kumul getting back to the market on LNG, because it's also important for us to have a better understanding of who are going to be our buyers.
And to some sporting news, the Lay Rugby League ground will have less than a month to have a pitch upgrade so it can host round 19 Interest Super Cup match between SP Hunters and North Devils. Lay was selected ahead of other provincial centres based on revenue potential and viability of staging the event. Gregory Avera with this report.
Lay City could become the 3rd centre in the country to play host to a SP-PNG Hunters match in the Interest Super Cup competition. But the Rugby League ground will need minor surface upgrade to see it host the round 19 encounter. Interest Super Cup competition manager Dave Maiden says the upgrade needs to be done to ensure player safety is guaranteed for the match.
Player safety is paramount, so the surface is vital. There's a few rocks and details that they've used as fill at times, so they're going to work through those patches and make sure that they're removed, and we get that down to a best possible surface that we can. I mean, that will make the surface far better for the local players as well.
Since 2012, the Queensland competition has taken one round of matches to outer centres to allow for fan engagement and involvement at the grassroots level. The past country round matches for the SP-PNG Hunters have been staged at the usual home ground, National Football Stadium, with Lay selected for this year.
the event is that we usually take a country week event to a venue to make sure that they have better facilities or either better financially when we leave. So, and I'm sure that's going to be the case if the PNG Hunters take the game to Lae.
Following an initial assessment over the weekend, competition organizers have given 3 weeks before another assessment will be carried out before confirmation of the venue can be made. Meantime, SPPNG Hunters Chairman Graham Osborne says the country round concept is a good opportunity to bring high-quality matches to other parts of the country. He adds, based on quality and availability of grounds, future country round matches can be held in other centres as well.
Next year when we have the country round, I'm sure that we'll be looking at Kimby or somewhere like that, because to get it out to everywhere we can. We would dearly love to have a game in the Highlands, so hopefully when they get that stadium built up there for the PNG games, that'll be the next home for the games. It's desperate that we go to the Highlands with a game.
Confirmation of the venue is expected by June 15, ahead of the round 19 match between the SPPNG Hunters and North's Devils. Gregory Avira, PNG TV Live.
And that's where we end the 7 p.m. news bulletin. More at 7 p.m. tomorrow from myself and the news team. It's good night.